As a student of political science and someone who has taught a class in college, at the college level on the American regime, I from time to time read a volume on that subject. It's not my favorite subject in the field. I enjoy reading more about radical movements, right-wing movements, radical political economy, Marxist theory, that kind of thing. But I occasionally stray into the area of the American regime, and I know a little bit about it. And so I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to actually read a very good work, I thought one of the best, on James Madison and the making of the American regime by Patrick Gutzmann, Gutzman, possibly two N's in that, but it's Patrick Gutzmann, James Madison and the Founding of America, or the Making of America. And this work was, in several respects, very sophisticated and an excellent piece of scholarship on the founding of the United States. It calls to mind Madison X, whom I think maybe would have many of the gifts that someone would need to become president in the future. But I recommend that book to anyone who's interested in the American regime, and particularly in two respects. One, it has one of the nicest analyses and one of the deepest analyses of the Federalist Papers that I have ever read, and especially on numbers 10 and 51, which are among the most important Federalist Papers. But its analysis of Federalist Papers generally, I think, is better than most of the work that's being produced today. It's very good. I wouldn't say better. I would correct myself. Not better than anything that's being produced today, but at least as good, if not better. On that issue of the Federalist Papers, I would say it's even more sophisticated than a lot of things that are being produced today. Partly because it goes into an analysis, a complete analysis of the Federalist Papers and how they came about, and how those very dramatic essays were published in the center of the founding states in New York during that time by those three authors of the work. So on that respect, and in the second respect, because Gutzmann, he relates that on the issue of the Second Amendment, that Americans are more well armed than other nations today, and the populace is, and that they therefore would be more capable of realizing a revolution than people in other countries, especially now with Europe they have gun control in many states in Europe, so Europe wouldn't be as revolutionary in that sense. But this too needs to be qualified. It's true that when you see, a friend of mine related to me that for every car that you see on the street, there are about 5 guns, and he related this to me about 15 years ago. So today, there's about 8 guns, probably 6 to 8 guns for every car that you see on the road in the United States. So we're a very well-armed regime in that sense, the citizens are. But we're at a level of citizen development and civic development and military preparation on the part of citizens, and even just responsible use of firearms, which is not anything like it would have to be in order to carry out a violent revolution. So anybody who can use their imagination can realize how dangerous that would be. And it provokes the question why there hasn't been a serious debate in this country about the responsible use of firearms and the responsible promotion among the citizenry of the responsible use of weapons. And it has not occurred. As I've indicated in another of my posts, Here, Columbine itself signaled a massive problem in the country and in the psyches of people. And it was something I think that was happening due to technology at that time. And it's still a problem today. So nobody who is sane would wish for an armed American revolution at the level of preparation that the citizens are today. So if revolution was contemplated, it would have to be very, very carefully approached, and there would have to be a lot in place that wasn't in place when the country was founded. I mean, for example, during the Revolutionary era, gun use was what you could do. Gun use was what everybody could use guns then, and they could use them pretty responsibly, despite the St. Valentine's Day massacre, and despite some of the, I mean, every revolution that is a serious revolution is violent, but when you contemplate 20 to 300, or 20 to 100 million people handling firearms and using them against the government, it's a horror. It's a horrible thing to contemplate, and it's not like Hollywood, and it wouldn't be. And so people have to understand that dimension of it too. And so I think that for a long time that we have avoided a serious debate about this issue in the government, and there should have been one. See, there should have been one that clarified that really, the Second Amendment applies, but with qualification. It's not something that's just that. A revolution, first of all, is not something you can throw together on the basis of citizenry that does not have very close contact, very sophisticated and elaborate means of communicating today, and development. It was the revolutionary founders were unique in they had the luxury of revolution because they were very wealthy, and they were very skilled at mobilizing the people on behalf of the revolution, which today I just do not know where they would find that kind of leadership, to be honest. And so there has to be some kind of effort, it seems to me, on the part of our leaders to, before anything like that happens, to develop the sinews, the muscles, if you will, and bones of a more direct participation of the citizenry in democracy. Something like direct democracy that the ancient Greeks had would have to be a precondition to even the contemplation of something like that. And in fact, something like that would actually take the place of the revolution, if you consider it. That would be sane by comparison, if anybody thinks about it. But I thought I would put it out there for people to think about it. I apologize for the emotion once again. But if I have high blood pressure and I take blood pressure medication, and it really tugs at the heart's emotions, and these are patriotic issues, and patriotic issues are emotional, so it also gets that context. And I'm a decent person, so I can imagine what it would be if people were locked and loaded and they simply went to Washington with their guns, and what kind of mess that would create. And so there's that behind it also, the concern that maybe people would do that if their minds continued to go downward because of the level of promotion of the lower impulses as opposed to reason. These things are dangerous, and they should be known as such.